For a time, the Imperium believed the war was nearly won. The stars were being reclaimed. Human worlds were returning to unity. The Great Crusade had spread the Emperor's banner across the galaxy. And at the head of that crusade stood his sons, the Primarchs, Lords of War, Masters of Legions, demigods forged for conquest. Among them, one was raised above all others. Horus, the first returned to the Emperor's side, the longest at his hand, the most beloved. He was named War Master. Command of the Great Crusade was placed on his shoulders, and with it, the fate of the Imperium. Horus did not fall in battle. He fell in spirit. On the distant world of Davin, he was struck down, broken in body, weakened in mind, vulnerable in soul. Carried to a hidden cult upon Davin that worshipped the powers of the warp, the Serpent Lodge. He was laid upon an altar, not meant for healing, but for damnation. The powers of chaos whispered to him, showed him visions, a future where the Emperor would abandon his sons, where Horus would be forgotten, where the Imperium would become a corpse empire ruled by faith and tyranny. They twisted his loyalty into resentment, his devotion into hatred, his love into pride. And the War Master turned, not against the Imperium alone, but against his father. Horus was not the first to stray. Long before Davin, the seeds of corruption had already been sown. It was Lorgar Aurelian who first turned from the Emperor's light and sought new gods in the darkness. And it was his legion that helped guide Horus toward the abyss. When Horus rose, he did not stand alone. The betrayal spread in silence. Legions were corrupted, Primarchs were deceived, oaths were broken, brotherhoods were divided. Some followed Horus willingly, some were manipulated, some were coerced, some were destroyed for refusing. The Imperium did not realize what was happening until its own armies began slaughtering its own worlds. The first great atrocity happened on the world of Isfan III. There, the War Master tested the loyalty of his own legion. The world was virus bombed. Cities drowned in poison. And the loyal sons of the Imperium died choking beneath the clouds. Those who survived the bombardment were hunted down by the very legions they had once called brothers. Then came Isfan V, the drop site massacre. 3 legions descended upon the world, believing they had come to crush a rebellion. It was a trap. Their reinforcements landed soon after. They did not come to reinforce the loyalist legions. They came to destroy them. There, Primarch Ferrus Manus fell to the blade of the traitor Primarch Fulgrim. There, the Imperium's fate was sealed. It was no longer a rebellion. It was a civil war. The galaxy fractured, not by borders, but by loyalty. Mars itself burned as the great Forge world split in allegiance. Titan war machines marched against their own kind. Ancient engines of war were turned towards humanity's destruction. Expeditionary fleets were stranded in distant sectors. Astropathic choirs screamed and fell silent. Worlds were left to guess which master they now served. The Imperium did not divide cleanly. It shattered. And then came the folly born of desperation, seeking to warn the Emperor of Horus's treachery. Magnus the Red reached across the warp with forbidden power. His message reached Terra, but in doing so, he shattered the wards protecting the Emperor's greatest secret, the hidden Webway project. In a single moment, the Emperor's grand design was undone, and from that day forward, the master of mankind was bound to the Golden Throne, not as a symbol, but as a necessity. Even before Terra was besieged, he was already imprisoned. The warp itself turned against the Imperium. A storm without precedent spread across the galaxy. The ruin storm. It swallowed roots, severed supply lines, and cut Terra off from much of the Imperium. What had begun as a rebellion now became apocalypse. Entire systems burned, Forge worlds fell, human populations were exterminated by those sworn to defend them. The Legiones Astartes, the Emperor's greatest creation, became the weapon that nearly destroyed his empire. Horus cast aside all pretense. He named himself the true ruler of mankind. He declared the Emperor a tyrant, the Imperium a lie. And around him gathered the traitor legions, willing, deceived, or damned beyond redemption. Their fleets assembled, not to conquer the galaxy, but to claim its heart. And so the War Master turned his gaze homeward, toward Terra, toward the Imperial Palace, toward the Golden Throne, toward the Emperor himself. The engines of 1,000 warships ignited. The warp boiled with fire and ruin. Across the void, brother hunted brother in the long march to mankind's birthplace. The galaxy did not yet know it, but the age of hope had ended, and the siege was coming.